4 albums in, you know, you guys are consistently churning out top album after top album. How would you assess the evolution to date?
At least when you're, I know when we're making them, I do look back at the other stuff and then I think about like what we haven't done, and then it sort of actually opens up new places to go because you're like, oh, we've already done that, we've already done this, so we should try this. And I think in the case of this record, some of those things that we did actually turned out to be things that were maybe more normal.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about the record Time Is Over One Day Old, and there was a lot of downsizing involved, you know, with physical objects. You sold your amps, your synthesizers, and you kind of just like took less time thinking about the songs and the form of the songs. Was that refreshing for you to work in this way?
Yes. It was also scary though. So it was scary to like remove all the parts and sort of, I think we went with a lot of the, I feel like every chorus we would hit when we were making it, we were like, all right, what can we take away from here? And what else can we do without? And, it's refreshing sort of to have less, because it just opens up sort of the essential things like the melody.
And does that help also when you guys are jamming? Because I understand jamming aspect is, you know, one of the most exciting parts for you guys, because you don't have to think about the form of the song too much, and it's just when you guys can just freak out and make a lot of noise.
Jamming's the best.
Yeah, jamming's great in that way. And when there's less tools, then you kind of, if one person can only make this much noise, it allows somebody else to squeeze melody in the spaces. So like a really simple drum beat and a really simple bass line makes so much room for a really great vocal melody or guitar lead or whatnot. But yeah, I mean, yeah, jamming is great for us because that's when you can really tell. It's hard to gauge the quality of any element of music, just like within a timeline, or like within Pro Tools or whatever your tool is, and but when you're jamming, and there's always a synergetic moment where everybody kind of looks at each other, and that's when you kind of know that if all three of you are kind of this is nice, or I'm feeling this. That's a real easy place to bookmark and return to.
Often with Beer in Heaven material, there's a vast amount of layers within the big sound, such a vast sonic palette. Tell us about, you know, in particular with this record, peeling back the layers and sort of, you know, finding the center, and you know how necessary that was, you know, for the progression of the album.
It was super essential. I feel like it just kind of kept going and going, but it allowed us to do sort of things that are more subtle and also just play with space and being more open, which I think, you know, I listen to a lot of ambient music. I know Adam does. Jason
definitely do. Yeah,
listens to a lot of ambient music. So there's something about that, you know, approach that is really refreshing. And with what, you know, who we are, it's like we can't just immediately turn into this band that's sort of an ambient music band. I mean, I guess we could, but it would be really weird. The shows would be really weird.
Absolutely. Let's talk about some of the stellar material on the album, Time Between. I mean, it's got such a pulsating groove and a catchy overall essence. I mean, tell us about the origins of the song itself and constructing it and bringing it together.
That was a jam too.
Yeah. That was one of the earlier ones.
Yeah, that was a really early one.
That was probably the first one.
We were kind of messing around with just that. We got the Moogs. And I was playing the Moog, and then all of a sudden it was just, I think that the one line, the do 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 do,
Right.
that happened, and then it was like, oh, that's a song. We'd been like kind of making this like prog rock thing, and then it sort of it flipped into that, and then just got.
Yeah, I remember cycling through a lot of different drum beats for that one.
Yeah,
there were a lot of drum beats.
There's a song in particular that really stands out. You Don't Need the World. A steady drum beat and a bit of synth. I mean, the song is, offers such great diversity. When you're performing this song live, is it different to some of the material that you've penned before? It's got more of a different kind of atmospheric feel to it, hasn't it?
It's the hardest song to play live, for sure.
Yeah.
It's a really delicate song, so.
Was it a natural choice as album closer?
Yeah, we didn't write it as an album closer, but it's got that kind of triumphant kind of arc to it, and if everyone, like, it feels like an album closer, which is unfortunate a little bit because it, without bragging, like, I feel it's really one of our best songs we've ever written, and so it's unfortunate it's not where you place a single. And it's a 5.5 minute long song too. So if you're a patient listener and you're a Bear in Heaven fan and you make it to track 10, then
You're in for
yeah. I mean, we're writing songs for people that like to listen to albums. We're not really a single oriented band. So hopefully everybody who's into our band would listen anyways. But yeah, it's a really hard song to play live. It starts off a cappella.
It does, yeah.
There's actually like 3 guitar players worth of guitars happening on the song, and just the time is just very regimented too. So trying to recreate the kind of simple soulfulness of the song live while being locked into a specific groove. It's hard.
Yeah, but when it works, it sounds cool.
Yeah.
Man. It feels good.
Every other show is
like
yeah.
I just wanted to ask you guys about your approach to music over the years. You've mentioned you're middle-aged now, and John, you've had a baby. You've touched upon spiritual awakenings and paradigm shifts and the economy. I mean, with these aspects in mind, and you guys having the love for music, I mean, how has your philosophy to music changed over the years? Bearing these aspects in mind.
I would say it's actually made it even more of sort of a spiritual necessity in a way, because the money aspect of making music and being a musician, unless you're really out there just making hit singles that are on top 40 radio, you're struggling. And so for us, this is a kind of like full cycle back to being an art project that has an audience, and it's definitely, it's not easy, but it's a part of who we are.
Read about some of the compliments you guys have been paid. So Adam, so this girl basically said to you, I have sex to your music.
Right.
And is that the strangest compliment you've ever had?
It's you forget. You make the music, you play the shows, and you work so hard, but you really forget that how I listen to music. I drink wine and clean my apartment to it, get high, or like drive around blasting. How I always forget how people experience the music. I never think about people actually putting on the CD and listening to it actively versus like passively hearing it in a car or whatever. So it definitely was one of those, oh shit, people cook to this and like work out to this, have sex to this, like party to this. It's really cool.
There was one guy that was in Iraq, and he used to listen to us in his tank.
Yeah.
And that was like one of those things where you're like, whoa.
Yeah.
That
was weird.
But it's kind of cool that we were sort of a comfort for him in that
Absolutely.
strange situation.
In regards to the obstacles that you guys have to endure being in a band, and what kind of features do you think kind of give you the clarity to push forward? What kind of common features?
It's the obstacles themselves, I think. Mm-hmm. It might be the unifying thing, at least for John and I, since we've been in the band together. Like Jason's just been in for a couple years, but so I think he's starting to get the I don't know what he thought he was signing himself up for. But since we've lived it, I realized just a week ago was 10 years since our very first show, and so the obstacles are kind of the thing that oh, we're going to do this anyway. Bad review here, I don't care. 10 years from now, I think people will get this record. Yeah. And those are the obstacles that you really have to push aside, and that ultimately is why we keep doing it.
Yeah, for every obstacle, there's like another thing that like counters. Like
Sure.
for that bad review, there's a good review. You know,
Absolutely,
like,
yeah.
It's just like I don't know. I personally I have a problem with music to where it's like an addiction or something like that. I can't shake it.
If each of you could go back in time to see one performance, who would it be?
Wow.
I'd go back and see Ministry again. Back in like early '90s, that'd be cool.
To see something you've already seen.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool. Have you seen? They made a VHS videotape, like a live video of that tour, the early '90s, called "In Case You Didn't Feel Like Showing Up," and it starts out at just the whole venue. The stage is one big chain link fence. So all the crowd is like crawling up on is allowed to like kind of crawl up on the fence, and the band's behind the fence. Mm-hmm. It's pretty amazing. That's crazy. I would also go back in time to go see that with you. When you told, it was one of those like things we shared as becoming friends or whatever. It's like, oh, I love Ministry. Yeah, I love Ministry too, man. Oh yeah, they're not, you know, those records. Yep. Yeah, I saw that tour. What?
Yeah. Finally, Jason.
What would I see? I mean, that sounds pretty awesome. I don't know. I would have liked to have seen Miles play, like at the Isle of Wight or something.